Welcome, welcome everyone to the Newly podcast. I am so excited to welcome my new guest, Clara Jaramillo-Carrier. Welcome to the Newly podcast, where you get no BS insights on how to grow yourself and grow your career. Clara, welcome. Can you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Great. Well, thank you so much, Britta, for having me. What an honor. Just a little bit about myself. I am from Colombia, South America. So that's Colombia with a big O, not a U. And I've been here in the US since 1999, and this is my home now. And I am devoted to awaken purpose in individuals and organizations. And I think that's the topic of today. So, just a little bit about myself. If you were to ask me to describe my career in kind of a few words, I would say risky, bumpy, fulfilling,
Ooh.
and blessed.
Wow,
And
those are
the
some good
risky,
words.
yeah, and the risky part started when I make a choice to leave Colombia, to leave all my family, to leave everything that was familiar, in a way to seek new opportunities. There was a really hard time in Colombia back then in '99, where the economy shut down and there were no opportunities at all after I graduated from college. So there was a family that invited me, and I took a chance and I say yes. And a trip that was supposed to last 2 weeks ended up becoming my life. And,
Wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
incredible. What amazing career journey. I just so admire that you took those big risks and decided to start a whole new life. I mean, I'm sure you didn't know you were starting a whole new life when you came here. You
Not
just
at all.
it's just the next step. Yeah.
I mean, I had to look in a map what Chicago was, because for us, the US was all about Disney World, right? And we
Mm.
would save our entire lives to go to Disney once, and then that would be our experience of the US. But no, it's been an incredible journey. It's been bumpy as well. Many other, I shared the story of many other Latinos here in the US as a first time, immigrant. I had to build myself up from the ground. So
Mm.
before life turned a little bit more glamorous, I cleaned houses, I cooked for people, I did goofy, like hourly pay jobs, just to have an opportunity, and so start creating at one given point what I really wanted to do.
Mhm.
So it was, that's kind of like the bumpy, phase of life, but everything contributed to where I am now. Like there's nothing I would go back and say I would take away or I would do differently. I mean, I think everything, the hardships, the triumphs, and everything contributes to who I am today. And I'm proud of that.
Yeah, you should be. I mean, it sounds like you've been on an incredible journey. And just really quick, we're going to dive into our topic of, how finding your purpose can help you build your career and build yourself. But I just want to. I just am so impressed by the fact that you really started with I'll take any opportunity I can get. Cooking, cleaning. What do you feel like those small opportunities sort of taught you as you were building your career, as you were thinking about what's my purpose, where am I headed?
Mhm. Yeah, it was very humbling, to be
Mhm.
honest. And those jobs were about, in one way or another, to serve people, right?
Mhm.
So through cleaning, I would like make sure that a home looked nice and beautiful for the people living there to come back. Cooking, although I'm not a great cook, but I did my very best. It was a way for me to like do something that a group of people would enjoy. So I think
Mhm.
I think there's a perspective and there's an approach that helped me look at things as opportunities and gifts and places
Mhm.
where I could learn and grow, instead of looking at them as a curse or as something terrible. I'm not going to say that it was great all the time, please. It's
Yeah,
not
probably
the
not.
story of it, but there were hard moments. I mean, I was cooking in a basement where there was no AC. I
Mm.
remember like a big, like, airplane fan just like circulating a little bit of that hot weather. But at the end, I did it because I knew there was something else coming. This was not going to be the end of my story or the forever story for me.
Mm, mm. I love that. This was not going to be the end of my story or my forever story. And what an amazing way to lead into purpose. I
Yep.
think that's just such a great segue. So let's get started with that. How do you find your purpose in your career? What about your skills sort of can give you purpose?
Yeah. So I think there's something that may be misunderstood about purpose. For many people, purpose may seem like a really nice and put together 2 or 3 sentence statement that you put on a wall,
Mm,
and it could be that. But really, purpose is something that emerges, is something that comes within. Purpose
mm,
is personal.
mm,
It's something that is tied to what you believe, it's tied to what matters to you, it's tied to what are the things that you are naturally inclined to do, those things that give you, energy and that make you
mm,
feel, you know, um, happy and joyful. So
mhm,
purpose is really an inside job that if you get curious enough, then little by little that purpose even starts flowing through your personality and your
wow.
identity. So it becomes part of who you are, and therefore it becomes almost that filter that can
Mm,
really help you determine where you want to go. So it's
mhm.
kind of your compass, right? And what is it that you really want to do so that that purpose get not only aligned but gets fulfilled. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I love it. I love that you're sort of describing purpose as it's not this, statement, this cute statement that you put on your wall. It's something that's sort of a living, breathing part of who you are, and that it's something that you live out and not necessarily something that you just say to yourself. And
Yep.
and do you feel like with that in mind, do you feel like purpose can evolve sometimes or your idea of purpose can evolve over time?
Totally. I mean, if it doesn't, then there is a problem. Think about it in terms of your own, your own evolution. You're not the same person that you were, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Hopefully not, right? I mean, the idea here is that as you progress in life, as you get, opportunities, as you go through the ups and downs, you become someone, differently. You learn something new. So purpose grows with you because it is part of you. I
Mm,
think I think the invitation really here is because we all have busy lives, right?
yeah.
We're
Mhm,
trying to
mhm.
juggle, for some of us is motherhood and having a home or having a kid that is about to go to college or doing a master's program,
Yeah.
our regular jobs that we do, our social life. So life can get very busy and can get on in the way of
Mhm,
us understanding and connecting with that purpose.
mhm,
And I think the problem is like we are just kind of on autopilot. And when
mm.
we live on autopilot, when we're kind of like walking like zombies, doing one task after the other, we get demotivated.
Oh
So
my
we
god,
really
yes.
need to be intentional and stop and breathe and really reconnect with that within that makes us alive with our purpose.
Wow, I love that we need to reconnect with what makes us feel alive, and that from that place, our purpose can emerge. So, what if we take this, what if we take this back to ourselves? We're talking a little bit about how skills can create that compass for your purpose, things that naturally fit you, that bring you joy. Um, for you, how did you start to really be able to use your skills as a compass to
Mhm.
understand, okay, I think this might be my purpose, or how did your purpose evolve?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, one of the things that I tell my clients right now is, when you're kind of reflecting about yourself, get curious. And one of
Mm,
the things that I really found out is what are some of the things that I would do not only for free, but that I would love to do since I was a child, since I was a little girl. What were those things that
mm,
would like just fill me with joy and kind of like the sense of adventure? And for me, honestly, is people. I am a people's person. I
yeah.
love to get to know people, their stories, what brings them, that aliveness, when do they thrive. So for me, being with people and coming alongside people, it's something that I can naturally do. I am a really good listener as well. I mean, back in the days when I was little, I was really the nerdy of the group. So I would sit in front, I would pay attention, I would take, notes with different color markers. I actually still do. I have
Oh,
color
that's
markers
amazing. I love
everywhere.
that. Someone after my own
So
heart would love
I
that.
know. So all of those things, I'm very organized, I'm a detailed person. So all of those things that are skills are naturally engraved in me. So when you look at those things, then you start then associating those skills with the jobs that are out there, right? So there's a sense of clarity around, okay, what comes to me naturally, like what I'm really good at, and where are the places where I can bring those skills as an asset, as a value for that organization, right?
Mm.
And that goes back to also doing an assessment and recognizing your gifts and talents.
Mm.
For me, being with people, listening, that's a big one for me. Maybe also what are some of the things that are difficult. So one of the things for me is, for example, receiving feedback, getting candid feedback. It's hard for me at times. I take it too personal. So I know that I need to work on that and get better at understanding that feedback is about my skills, not about who I am as a person, right?
Right.
So all
Yeah.
of those things are part of really creating a clear sense of who you are, and then you can connect that with the purpose that emerges. So that's why for me is my purpose is to awaken purpose in people.
Oh, yes. And it makes it so clear, like the fact that you are good at listening, that you are curious about people, that you kind of are very focused and attentive and organized. All of those things would make, helping people discover their own purpose as your purpose
Mhm.
would make that just incredible. I think for me, from my perspective, I have experienced a lot of your skills in helping me awaken essentially what is that like deeper place in me that is wanting to come forward, and how can I bring that into this moment, into my career. And it's not necessarily about what my job description is, but how can I bring my skills to this job no matter what the job description is. Could you
Correct.
talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's wonderful that you bring that to the table, Britta, because there's no job is perfect,
Hmm.
right? No boss is perfect, and if you lead with that, chances are you're going to be a little disappointed, regardless of where you go, because you bring yourself to the place, right? So I
Hmm.
think there's a sense of getting kind of like clarity around, okay, what is it that I will bring to the table that will make my organization, my team members, my work better as a whole? How can I contribute? Because listen, there's no other you like you out there.
Hmm.
We are
Yeah.
all unique as our fingerprints, and we all bring everything that we are to the marketplace, even though we're told that we should leave some parts at home. That's a
Mm.
lie. That's a myth. We bring everything that we are, the good, the bad, the ugly, that amazing, incredible, imperfect human beings to the table.
Yeah.
So the opportunity is, one, going within and finding that purpose, that why, that
Mhm.
reason to exist, and
Mhm.
letting that be the one thing that helps you shape yourself. And as you shape yourself, then you shape the environment around you.
Absolutely. As you shape yourself, you shape the environment. That is just that I wanna write that on a little plaque and stick it on my wall. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about, surviving the no's or surviving rejection. You talk
Ah,
about how you're bringing your whole self. That's a vulnerable thing, bringing that whole self, and if somebody says no or doesn't like your idea or doesn't want you to contribute in some way, that can be a lot of rejection. So how can your purpose help you survive
yeah, I hate rejection.
that?
I mean, I really do. It stinks, and rejection hurts
Mhm.
deeply, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I think the value of purpose, or let's say the gift of purpose, is purpose give us grit.
Mhm.
It's almost like if you're in a stormy night and there's hell and raining, to purpose is kind of like that umbrella that you put over you, and
Mm.
that kind of covers you. right?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
purpose gives you that focus. Purpose gives you more resilience, like it makes you more resilient.
mhm,
And really, with that clear purpose, you're able to kind of use it as a way to create that critical thinking about that feedback or that rejection.
mhm,
So if it's
mhm,
a no, then maybe it's okay. So is it no because of something that I didn't do or that I could have done differently? Is it no simply because you're just not ready for whatever? Like I get a lot of no's when I'm doing my coaching practice, when I'm selling
mhm,
my services as a coach.
mhm,
And when you get curious, you're actually able to discern what's on you to own about your
mhm.
services, how you present things, and what is not at all
Right.
anything to do with you. And
Mm,
when you're able to approach the no's and the constructive feedback from a place of curiosity and to engage with that other person with, help me understand, how did you arrive to that no? Then it
mhm,
becomes actually an opportunity for you to learn and grow. And it
mm.
hurts still a little bit, but the pain is less about you and more about, oh gosh, this is interesting, I didn't think of that, thank you for that. So it becomes actually a gift.
Yeah, I mean, even in, if you take this back to something really practical, like in marketing, market research, if someone says no to your product and you take the time to develop that relationship with them and you ask them, could you, yeah, like you said, could you explain to me how you arrived at your no? That could tell you a lot about how to develop the product to make it better. Let's say you're in a job interview and you're one of the last candidates and you end up not getting the job.
Mhm.
Taking that courage, that risk to say, could you explain to me, why you chose the other person? And maybe it would help you improve your
Yep.
resume or other things. Have you found that in personally that's happened to you when you've gotten curious?
Yeah, I mean, I remember exactly the phase of the people that have said no. And interestingly, Brita, for my case, the majority of the people that have said no to coaching has to do with the timing or their finances
Mm,
or well, which it's debatable, but their priorities.
yeah.
And it has
Mhm.
nothing to do with what I'm selling.
Wow.
So that's really cool, and then it makes that process one more digestible, and then it makes you almost like feel pretty good about yourself. Now when it comes to feedback about, listen, I wish I would have these other thing, or then that's the opportunity, that is the gift, so that in the next time that you're going to be doing an ask or having that interview, then you're more prepared in that area. So it's all a
Mm,
contribution. It's like going back to when I was cleaning houses. Did that
mhm,
make me a less of a person or a bad person? No, it all contributed
mhm.
to where I am now and to who I am right now.
Which is, I mean, Clara, beautiful, successful human that's on my podcast. So, I mean, it can't be bad, anyways. Thank you. Your insights are so clear, and I so appreciate your reflection on purpose as something that's living, something that you can bring to any job, something that can help you contribute to survive no's, survive rejection. Speaking of surviving no's, how do you? I know you've talked about this before, and when we've had other conversations, but you've talked about celebrating those no's, and that just seems a little crazy to me. I can get on board, but tell me, why would you want to celebrate no's, and how would you do that?
Well, listen, it's really hard to do for me still.
Mhm, mhm.
But what I do that I found almost like healing is I do have a self pity party for a little bit. Like I would
Oh,
I would feel bad and I will feel like sorry for me and I will like feel like kind of like, please someone rescue me, and I will like drag myself. So it's like I allow my emotions, whatever they are, to emerge, in
mm,
the moment. But then I know now that too much of that, it gets me into a snowball that doesn't get me
mm, yeah,
anywhere positive. It
mhm,
doesn't really it doesn't serve me well. So I have my self-pity party for a little bit, and then I would actually call someone that I trust, and I have a couple of those people that I would call, and I will just vent for like 5 minutes,
okay,
like without explaining. Without, I said, hey, I need a vent, can you just give me your hearing part? I don't
yeah,
need solutions, I don't, just let me get it out of it. Sometimes that's
Mhm.
my husband. And sometimes it's, I have a couple of very good friends that kind of know my journey and all of that. So I would just, do that. And then what I would do is I would ask myself, so what am I learning from this experience? Is there anything valuable that I can take away from these and make it, into, my practice?
Mhm.
And how could I then potentially change the next outcome? Right. And most likely there's a pearls of wisdom there. And I will feel great at the end of the day, because guess what?
Mm.
I have gotten yeses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I get the next yes, it's going to be the reassurance, the validation, the affirmation that keeps you going.
Mhm.
So it's the
Absolutely.
beautiful of the no and the beautiful of the yes.
Yes. Yeah, it seems like the no, as hard as it is, can make the yes that much sweeter, that much more fulfilling
Yep.
for you.
Yep.
I
Yep.
love that. So we've talked about purpose, we've talked about, for surviving rejection. How does purpose sort of help you define your whole career? We've talked about how purpose doesn't have to be a job description or a job title.
Mhm.
How does it help you define your whole career?
Well, it gives you a framework,
Mm,
right? So
mhm,
because purpose, when it's awakened, it's something that comes within, it's personal, it's yours, then it becomes your compass.
mhm,
So for me, people are important.
mhm,
So just like even a simple thing like, so working by myself most of the time would be really hard.
mm,
So if you know that you really are, become alive when you're exchanging, when you're collaborating, when you're like doing team efforts, then you need to find a place where that is, practice, right?
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Um, so really purpose becomes that filter to sort through out not only the opportunities that are out there, but also the companies,
Yeah.
because purpose is aligned with what matters to you. So
Yeah,
for example, if you are naturally driven to social causes, right? So
mhm,
most likely it's going to be the nonprofit sector. Now, the
yeah,
nonprofit sector is huge, right? So, what about social causes matter to you? What
mhm,
about social causes, are important? Is it about family well-being? Is it about children? Is it about, work abroad? So you really need to get curious about yourself, and that makes your kind of like your soul on fire,
mhm,
so that
mhm.
then you can start lining out what are some of those characteristics and those must haves. I think the mistake that a lot of people could make, Britta, is because they're so eager to get out there and to get into the marketplace, they let go of what is important and they try to fit what it's offered to them.
Oh, wow, yeah. Oh, wow. They let go of what's important and they try to fit whatever's offered to them. I think I know I've done that. It's like that square peg, round hole, or like pushing the puzzle piece in, like, it's not
Yes.
fitting, and I've done that. I think
It's miserable.
oh, it's so miserable. A good example of that, I think, for me was during the pandemic, I started working for a fully remote agency, incredible people that I worked with, loved them, loved their company, loved their business model, very successful. But I realized, to your point, I couldn't work by myself. It just didn't fit my personality, and so it guided me in making decisions moving forward. So I think that's such a great, in your example of the nonprofits, that makes so much sense. There's like this one hand of what really fuels me and what do I know demotivates me. How do I understand those things and choose environments and choose companies that fulfill both of those things?
Yes, yes. I mean, I think if we're gonna put kind of things in a little bit of like an extreme case, Britta, we are only here in this life, at least as we know it, once.
Yeah. Sobering
So
reality. Yeah.
so let your purpose, help you making those choices and making those decisions. And
Mm.
I'm not saying it's simple or easy,
Yeah.
not always.
Hmm.
But chances are, if you're really, really attuned with your purpose, you're honoring what is of mattering to you. You're honoring your values. You're honoring the things that come naturally to you. And then that journey towards finding that ideal job, not perfect, but that ideal job is going to be a little bit easier and more enjoyable.
Yeah, I love that finding your way to that job is gonna be easier and more enjoyable, and, talking about the surviving no's, I think it's so interesting. Let's say you do find an environment that really engages your purpose, but it's a difficult environment. You can still know how to navigate that better if you are in your purpose, it's like you don't have to leave if it's, a hard work environment. You can still focus on your purpose and find ways to create a more positive environment inside of that. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh yeah. I
Mm,
mean, I remember my days in corporate America, and the interesting part, I moved from for profit doing experiential marketing for 8 years to a nonprofit doing communications. So it
mm,
was really a career change, but I was
yeah.
doing that in corporate America. So I was part of a big corporation. There was kind of like a foundation side of things, and the work was very fulfilling, and it was
Mhm,
very difficult from the beginning up until when I was done.
yeah.
And this is part of, like, back in my experience in the US. That's where the word what was the word? It was fulfilling, and then
Mm,
it was also bumpy, because I found myself always trying to fit in. I
yeah.
was the only one with my background, with my, good, ugly, and bad, in kind of like that scenario. And
Mhm,
I found myself kind of pushing and fighting to belong, and I thought it was because I was not doing enough of a good job. So I went into a lot of self-doubt, and it was
mhm,
just not conducive to anything. I mean, I was even getting a little bit sick myself.
mm,
So but all of that gave me kind of the arsenal that I needed to start getting curious about, okay, so is this it?
yeah.
And I knew it wasn't it. I
Mhm,
knew after a couple of experiences that I had in missionary trips and some reflecting time and all of that, that I
mhm,
had to do something else with what I was given
yeah.
naturally.
Mhm,
And that's when I
mhm.
decided to start my own firm, Breaking Through Consulting and Coaching, and that was in 2014.
Wow.
So even when that big leap of faith, when I was
Mhm,
able to do my I know my purpose, and I didn't have all this language that I have now because I've been
mhm,
studying, but I know there was that force, that internal force that was pushing me to, there's something else. There's
yeah.
something else.
That's such a fantastic example, and it's so interesting too that you gained skills even inside of that struggle that, helped you find your way in the future. I just think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, we're reaching the end of our time, and,
No.
yeah, I know, unfortunate. There's, couple questions that I still we've left unanswered, but that just means, Clara, that we have to have you on another time, which I
Yay.
would
Part
not.
two. Woo woo.
So great. So I'm gonna give you a couple rapid fire questions. We're just gonna do, two of them. So the first question I was gonna ask you is, what is the most random job you have ever had?
I audited Chicago public schools.
Wow.
No knowledge, no background. I did it out of survival,
Wow.
and I learned pretty quickly. But that's not my thing. It's numbers, it's reports, it's inventories. No, 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 no. That's not my thing. But I did it for like 3 months.
Well, yeah, that's definitely a random job, and I would not survive in that environment either.
No.
No, no, too many numbers, need people, need conversation. A good one. Okay, so the last question I'm gonna ask you is, what is the worst career advice you've ever gotten?
We've connected about these before, and
Mhm,
when people, especially when they are in kind of like higher management roles, maybe your boss, right, tells you to hang in there.
mm,
I think that's the worst thing that I, as a leader, can give to someone,
mm,
because what does that even mean, to hang in there? To
Yeah.
hang in where? Like, what does that even mean? And we
Yeah.
just keep hanging in there as if we were kind of like, I don't know, little children hanging from like the monkey bars. I don't know. But it's almost these place where you're just almost like losing complete control of the
Mm,
environment, and you're
mhm,
almost like letting yourself go, because
mm,
that's not going to last forever and you're just going to fall anyway. So I think
mm,
hanging there it's an advice that doesn't give you clarity about
mm,
what you're going through, and it doesn't give any sort of responsibility to
mm.
anyone involved.
Yeah.
It's almost
Yeah.
like you're in limbo and you just keep going until what?
Until your arms get tired and you just
Until
fall. Yeah.
yeah, it's just I think it's silly, and I don't know, maybe it's an idiom, one of those like
Yeah.
funny things that now I'm learning what they mean.
Yeah.
But I think it's a no. Like, so if you hear hanging there, like go back and said, what do you actually mean by that? Help me
Mm,
understand what do you mean by that?
mm.
Because I don't have a clear sense of that. And the
Yeah.
person is not gonna feel bad about it.
Mm,
He or she will be kind of like in shock.
mhm, mhm,
But it would help you be clear about that. And then you can make a decision about if you do want to hang in there or not.
mhm. Yeah, I love the point of just asking for clarity, and I'm sure you would be viewed positively if you want to ask for clarity on how to
Yeah.
remain in an organization or how to continue to build your career, your presence at an
Yeah.
organization.
Well,
Well,
and if you don't, then that's data for you too. Maybe
there
you
you
just
go.
need to make an alternative decision.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining me. We're a little bit over time, but it was totally worth it. I
Thank you.
appreciate all of your insights, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much, Brita. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.